Landry Etheridge here, joined today by Channing Harris of Etheridge Counseling in Charleston, South Carolina. And we're here to talk about a really cool article she just wrote on emotional safety in relationship. So I have had the privilege of reading your most recent article, and I have a few questions that I've written down that I'd love to hear more about. So the first one is, and again, this is on the science of emotional safety in relationship. So a pretty cool topic. How do you define emotional safety? This is a two-part. How do you define emotional safety, and why is it such a foundational part of a healthy relationship?
Yeah, so I'll focus on the first part first, which is the definition. So emotional safety is really the felt sense of, safety, but what does that look like? Of I can bring my emotions to my relationship without fear of judgment, being diminished, being gaslit. I feel like that's a common word that people use. But feeling like made to feel bad for how I'm feeling. That I feel that I can bring that, it will be accepted. It doesn't mean it won't cause conflict. It doesn't mean the other person might not have their own negative feelings about it, but that my own feelings won't be kind of squashed. And I really emphasize the felt sense of that, because you can have physical safety in a relationship. Okay, I know that if I tell you that you hurt my feelings or made me angry, that you're not going to punch me in the face.
You can kind of cognitively know that.
Yeah, I can cognitively know that like I'm not going to be under any physical threat from you, but that even when that's present, sometimes it doesn't feel like I can share those things with you without potentially damaging the bond that we have. And so, that piece of I can share my emotions and I don't think it's going to threaten our relationship, that's a big piece of it.
Yeah,
and then the second piece was, why is that so foundational for healthy relationships? I think if you think about the definition, you're like, oh, that sounds lovely. Of course that's important in relationships, and I want that. But it's really important because you have to be able to have that emotional safety to have healthy conflict, to have good communication. Because if I don't feel I can bring those things up in a relationship, we're never going to be able to have good conversations about those things.
Right.
And again, I think it's really important to note that emotional safety doesn't mean that there's not conflict or hard things in relationships. It just means that, like, I know that I can bring that up, and like we're gonna be okay. We're gonna work through it.
Yeah, I love that. There's some confidence there that if I am vulnerable, there will be someone there to catch me.
Yeah.
Can you explain? This is more on the science sort of nervous system side, but can you explain how the nervous system responds when safety is present versus when it's missing?
Yeah. And I'll talk a little bit more when we're talking about safety. I'm going to be talking about like the emotional safety realm as much, more so, but the same thing is true with physical safety. It's just generally more heightened. So you usually feel this in a little bit of a different way, like you experience it a little bit differently. But when emotional safety is present, oftentimes I feel like I can regulate. I'm able to learn and engage and connect. I can have conversations about those things without feeling like I'm under threat. When it's not present, then we tend to dip into like our nervous systems, our brains perceive that we're under threat. And so that might look like you do something with that. That might look like me jumping into defense mode. That might be me wanting to avoid a topic. There's something inherently in me. You feel it in your body oftentimes where I either want to lean away from that, or I might want to lean into it and try to either eliminate it or move through it quicker.
Yes. And I can even think back to times where I have either had that or haven't had that. It is a very like visceral experience. And then just to wrap up, what are a few everyday ways that couples can unintentionally build or erode emotional safety?
Yeah, emotional safety is often like built or eroded in just your everyday, day-to-day interactions. I always kind of say, big grand gestures are wonderful and amazing and we want them, but they are not inherently what sets the foundation.
They're not going to make up for lack of eye contact consistently or something.
Yeah. So that is, that's a good example actually. Yeah. Like eye contact, feeling like you're connected throughout the day, having your partner check in with you, accepting when they're feeling like maybe a little bit off instead of, kind of jumping on them or avoiding them and disengaging from them, just gently leaning into that and kind of check in on you. Kind of seems like something's up. What's going on? Just those little consistent check-ins, attuning to the other person.
Yeah. That. Well, there's so much more to talk about when it comes to couples and emotional safety. So definitely recommend giving it a read on etheridgecounseling.com. And then if you are looking for a couples therapist and you need a little help with navigating some of this or have some old patterns that are kind of stuck, definitely recommend reaching out and working with Channing or one of our other therapists here at Etheridge Counseling. Thanks so much for listening.